Hi, Year 11s. This will just be a quick video to go over some of the content you'll need for homeostasis today. So we're talking about, first off, figuring out if something has changed in the body, and then what do we do about that change. So I want you to remember, and this will be from the plasma membrane stuff that we talked about, that the internal environment, so this is the interstitial fluid or the internal fluid that surrounds our cells in multicellular organisms, or also that fluid that's sort of around the cells, and the external environment. So this might be the things surrounding an organism. So we have exchange, nutrients, we have gas, we have waste, things are exchanged between the plasma, between the stuff in our blood, and between the fluid surrounding these cells, the interstitial fluid. Now we actually need to keep this fluid within specific limits. We need to keep a range here so that our body can achieve all of the functions it wants to achieve, so that our cells can function happily. They need to have the right gases and the right nutrients in that fluid around them, or in that fluid in the blood plasma that they can access. Okay, so homeostasis is where we maintain our internal environment at a stable state. So we need specific conditions for our body to be able to function. And homeostasis are the steps that our body takes to make sure that those conditions are met. So whether or not we're getting changes in the external environment or in the internal environment in our body will take steps to maintain those conditions that we need. So there's lots of different adaptations that will help to maintain homeostasis, to maintain that baseline. And in humans, it's our body systems. All of our body systems are helping to maintain homeostasis. So, for example, think about temperature. So enzymes or proteins that help us to achieve a lot of our bodily functions, they don't function when it's cold. So because reactions occur too slowly, so our enzymes don't really work. So we need to keep our body temperature around 37 degrees. Otherwise, the enzymes become too slow. Things won't really work. If they become too hot, the enzymes can denature, which means that they'll sort of break apart. So they'll stop functioning then if they get too warm as well. Or think about say the concentration of glucose in your blood. We might have osmosis occurring. If we've got too much glucose in your blood, water might move out of the cells, right? We cover that in the plasma membrane. So the cells could actually shrivel and they could die. Or if the blood glucose in the cells was too high, osmosis could cause the water to come in, and those cells could actually burst. So those are some examples of things that could go wrong if we didn't maintain this internal temperature and this internal conditions. Okay, so here are some examples of things that need to be maintained. So our blood glucose, which I touched on, the level of water in our blood and in our interstitial fluid, our blood pressure, our temperature, which I've touched on, the oxygen level, pH, and ions. These are all variables that our body is constantly working to make sure that they're maintained at a set state through homeostasis. Okay, so how does homeostasis happen? Well, we have something called the stimulus response model. And this is what we use basically to maintain homeostasis. So most homeostasis is based on negative feedback. So we have some sort of a change in the internal or external environment, and then we take steps to bring that feedback back to the baseline. So we have a stimulus, and this could be that change. It could be, the temperature goes up. It's a really hot day. That could be the stimulus. Then we have a receptor. So this is the part of the body that actually detects the stimulus. So in temperature, it might be a thermoreceptor cell, a cell that can detect a change in temperature. And then the receptor sends a message to a control center. Usually this will be in the nervous system, often the hypothalamus. And the control center will then make a decision, okay, we need to do something, and it'll send an impulse, a nervous impulse, to an effector. Okay, so the effector will be something that can change to make the response go back to base, to make us to return us to homeostasis. And then the response is the actual active, the actual action that's being taken. So let's say the effector was in temperature. Let's say the effector is that your sweat glands. Your temperature's gone up. It's too hot. So the effector is your sweat glands. The response is that you'll start sweating and you'll lose some of that heat through evaporation.